Hi everybody. Today I'm working on my junk journal again. I've turned the page to one of the music pages I put in here from an old band book I had in probably 8th grade. I don't know why that's still around in my life, but time to put it to use. So yeah, there's something I have in my mind. I'm gonna try to get it on the page. It's so funny because this is the point to where if I tell you what's in my mind and it doesn't come out like that, I end up with egg on my face. So part of me wants to just say, I got something in my mind, stay tuned. Because I never know if it's gonna quite come out like I have in my mind. But I'm gonna do a figure. And I'm kind of going off of this Venetian melody and the music that's here. So let's get started. And we'll start with just a quick pencil drawing, and we'll get going from there. So these are lines that I will, erase out or paint out, but I like to have a guide for myself. Because if you draw just kind of a basic oval and basically put it in half, but since I have her, it's not going to be a straight on. I don't want a perfect straight line across. Then my eyes are going to be set on this midline from here to here. My eyes are going to be set there, but I want to have them into thirds in this space. So what I mean is the width of this, I need to have another width in between, and then that width again for the next eye. Does that make sense? That's how you get your eyes spaced properly. So just doing kind of this one's going to need to be a little bit bigger. Okay, these will come back in and get, detailed later. I'm just trying to get something down here. Now, between that halfway point and the bottom, I want to put one more line. That's where the bottom of my nose is going to go. All right, so I want to just kind of and then the lips just below that. So this is the top little cupid bow of the lips. And then I'm going to make this kind of a full bottom lip. A little chin area, it's going to come down like this, and this is where I'm going to kind of get from this rounded thing to a little bit more of a jawline. Come up right around the eye. Okay. Let's see. This is. I'm gonna put crease at the back of the eyes, and then an eyebrow. All right. So now I've been doing that with just a 4B pencil. Now I want to go in and erase some of those lines in between, and for that I'm going to use, what am I going to use? So I have different erasers here. These do little small, this one does very small places. I really don't need that here, but this one would be handy to get these cross lines in between and to erase inside the eyes. Alright, get rid of this line up and down. And here. And then I'm going to get rid of a lot of this up here because I'm going to bring in a hairline. Let me see how I want to do this. So I think I'm getting about what I want to get started with. Now I think something I like to do, I learned this a little while back, is get rid of, like, make little breaks in some of the stuff around the eyes so it doesn't look so canned, you know. It's kind of like the difference of, well, let's say you have that, but what if you did put color in there, but you backed out just little lines here and there. Okay. So one looks a little bit more childlike and one looks a little bit more realistic and painterly. So that's kind of what I'm going to go for with this one. I want to clean up some of this in here. I'm not trying to make a perfect sketch as far as shading and everything. I will do that with my paint. I'm just trying to get the overall outline that I want for her, the feel. I want kind of a wispy hairs, kind of outside with the wind blowing. She's got a bit of a smile on her face. She's very content. Alright, it's a good place to start. So now, to keep with that kind of painterly feel, I am going to use my Stabilo All Pencil. If you've not used one of these before, they work on paper, glass, plastic, metal. You can get them. I'll put a link below. I order mine off of Amazon with a lot of the other stuff I do. That's more time I can make art if I don't have to run around to stores. And you just never know who carries this stuff. It's just better to go to order it. But it acts kind of like a... it can have a thick stroke of a charcoal, but it acts like a watercolor. So you can put it down and it'll look, you know, like a pencil mark, but then you can activate those marks with water and they'll have a completely different effect. And the reason I am doing it with her is I want kind of a sketchy feel to this piece. I want motion, and I don't want, you know, perfect lines and all of that. Give her a little bit of an ear here, and Okay, get her jawline put in, her neck, and then the hair coming out there. Okay, put the nostrils in here. Go over the eyes. I like to go down a little bit here for a tear duct. Go ahead and put in my hint of an iris. Do the same thing with the lips here. There's always going to be shadowing on this top lip. It's going to make it a little darker than that bottom lip. So, and I'm just going to add a little dark right there. Okay. And I'm going to do kind of the same thing with these pencil lines back here. And before I do anything more back there, I think I'm going to need to put some gesso, honestly. I probably should have done that before I started the pencil. Because I've got to back out some of these lines because I want to put just a little faint figure in here. And there's just too much of the music showing. So, let me get started with my trusty little gesso. And let me see. Get out a few brushes I think I might like to use. Okay, so now I have gotten enough of that music covered over to let my figure show up there. Yeah, I'm going to cover over a little bit more. Now I want to go into the face of the girl. It's not that I don't want any to show. Let me get my trusty little diaper wipes handy. Diaper wipes. They're not diaper wipes. They're just wipes. Wet wipes. So I can, you know, have some of it showing through. And I'll go in with a finer brush in a minute. Now I'm just going into the hair, again backing out some of the music. Whoops, I forgot a whole spot of this face. This music's taking over here. And And one thing you notice too is when you start doing this, it shows back up through it. Like you think you've got it covered, and then a minute later you can see, no, I don't. I got to put another little coat on it. Back it up in there. But also as I'm doing this, I'm moving those black lines around. And I like that look. So now I want to go in with a little bit smaller brush here. That way I can get these other lines in here. And I don't mind some of this showing. I kind of want a little bit of it, but I just don't want it quite so stark. So now I want to bring in some actual color for the face. So let's pick out some of that. These are Jane Davenport's. She has, what I like about hers, one, I like it and I don't like it. You can't buy these individually, so if you find you're using one color more than another, you're not going to be able to go and just order that one again. You're going to have to get a set of 4. But I find them to be really good paints. And she has one set that's just really, really good for faces. I think these are the ones that come in the faces one. So different shades that can be used together to create facial skin tones. So I'm just going to put a few of those out here on my palette. Can you see my palette? Yeah, okay. I'd rather just go ahead and have a little bit on my palette to play with because I don't know exactly what I want. That's a very peachy peach, but it blends really good. And for the kind of painting that I like to do, this really painterly look, yeah, it can be kind of fun, I think. So, let's see, I'm trying to find, somewhere around here I have my mermaid brushes. Here they are. You can tell Jane Davenport, she loves her mermaids. I think there's one more. But they're pretty good brushes. I like using them. Yeah, there they are. So these are the 3 that come in her set. And I think I like this angled one. It does really good for faces. Let me get this in some water. I think I want to try to use this one to get in some of the beginning of the face tones. And I think I'm going to wet it a little bit because I don't want it completely opaque. I want to keep it nice and loose. So as I'm doing this, I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm blending on the actual figure a little bit. So I'll add a little white when I want it to come in and, you know, lighten up an area that I feel like I've gotten too dark, where I want some highlights on the face. And this is, you know, kind of a big brush. I'm probably going to move to a smaller brush here in a minute. But one thing about having kind of an oversized brush is it lets you keep it loose. And, so what I'm not thrilled about is by the time this is all over with, it's already gone. The Venetian Meloday part that I wanted to show up is not going to. Oh well, that's why it's an art journal and not a finished painting. But that was my inspiration for the piece, so that is fine. I'm pulling just a little bit of this pink. Sometimes I just pull it in and just finish it with my fingers. I like that. Let's see what I think about this peach brought into the sides. Just for like a little shading. It adds a contrasting color, a little darker contrasting color, which is good. Try it under the face for the shading of the neck. A little bit more water on my brush so I can move that paint around the surface easier. A little bit under the nose. Now, if you haven't done a lot of painting on faces, if you think about the face, the eyes are sockets in the skull. So, whoops, something fell over. So they're a little bit more recessed. So they're naturally going to be a little darker in there than the rest of it. And then that's when I'll go in with something a little lighter for right underneath. And again, I'm trying to keep it nice and loose. Try some different, I like these colors because they work well together, and I really like that. I like acrylics. I've got watercolors over here, and I was going to think about bringing those out today, but I don't know. I just have so much fun with acrylics. All right, so let me get that in some water, and then I'll get a smaller brush to work on her lips, and I want to use... This is another skin color that can darken, but I like this color for if I want to tone down a bright pink. She has a couple of really bright pinks in her collection. But I did, you know, it's a beautiful pink. But for this, I just wanted a little tone down. So I think we're going to use those two colors together for the lip color. I may have gotten too big of a brush here. Let me get a smaller one here. Alright. So right now I've got a lot of this black Stabilo line. So as I'm going over this, it's activating that. So I'm getting a lot of black. It's alright. It's going to dry, and then I'll be able to go over it with something lighter. So I'm going to put a little white gesso in here now to cover over that black line so it doesn't keep activating on me as I'm trying to do her lips. I like doing lips. I don't know why. I just think it's one of the nicer things about, you know, women. We're lucky we get nice lips. Unfortunately, as you get older, I don't know if any of you other gals have noticed it, they tend to thin on you. I don't really love that part too much. I'm just going to lay in some of this magenta here. And then I'm going to bring it in down here. In a little bit lighter form. So I'm going to get that bottom lip started. It's going to be a little darker right here along the line, but now I want to lighten it up, so I'm bringing in some white. And really, again, just mixing right here on the page. All right, that's good for a start, and then I'm going to come back and do some more with those. Get some more definition. All right, so now the eyes. So I'm going to use blue and green. I'm on a Jane Davenport paint kind of a day, I think. I won't need very much at all. I'm just going to put the tiniest bit out on my palette of each one. And that'll do. Oh my gosh, you see what I did there? Welcome to live video. Well, that's good that you see that. So now I got to figure out how to, here's part of my problem, so let me fix that. I've got a buildup of sludge inside that lid where it's not wanting to go on properly. Now I'm going to have to paint over again her neck. Oh well. Happy little accidents, I guess. See if Bob Ross was right. Alright, now I got to get that mess off of there, so let me see here. Alright, so there's going to be green down here. How about that? I might do that as shadowing in her neck. You don't know till you try, do you? Let's see if I like that or not. And then if I do, I need to pull it in up here. Boy, this is taking a risk, guys. But you know what? You don't know what you're going to get until you try taking risks. You might love it, you might hate it, but here's the one thing I really love about acrylic paints. You can undo it. So, alright, I do want to back out some of that, and I've run through her lips. Boy, I'm making a mess here. But this is really good. We'll see if I can salvage it. See if I can salvage the mess. So now I'm going to bring back in a little bit of these other colors to push back some of this green that I have going on. But I'm not disliking the green. I don't know how that white got on me. I've never had this much trouble with just getting paint everywhere. But you know what? Maybe it's meant to be. So now I'm going to try something that I've done a good bit, but and that is just move paint through. Don't get too, if you want to keep a nice painterly technique, now you can sit here and go, oh, but look what you did to her lips. I'm not worried about that. Because it's always possible to go back and clean up. What I want to do is get rid of the fear that I'm now experiencing with this piece. Now I'm going to go back in with my wipe. and undo some areas. And I know y'all are freaking out right now. Guess what? I am too. But this is one of the neat things about having a process and just trying new things. Now I want to bring in some of these other colors and just see what happens. I'd like it if I didn't have dog hair on there. And I think what I probably will need to do here soon is just let this dry and get some stability, because I've put a lot of wet media on this in the last couple of minutes. So I'm going to try my little handy dandy swipe. Alright, so not going to freak out. I'm going to bring in my dryer. I'll fast forward through this so you don't have to listen to it. So while that's drying further, I'm just going to bring in some of this color. Okay, that's not the dog's hair, that's mine. And let me get it. I'm going to put a little bit more of both of these colors in here. A little more blue. A little more green. All right. So I'm putting it in, using a little water to activate and move it around. And I'll go back in, put in a little bit more. I obviously ran this through that on the way too. That's all right. Might kind of like that. I might like it. Right, let's go ahead and bring that color right around her face. So this page is getting pretty saturated right now, but you know, it's holding up pretty good. It probably would have held up better if I had honestly gessoed the entire page to begin with, but that wasn't really the look I was going for at the time. So but I do want to be careful and not tear it. So now I'm going to go in with some of my flash colors again. I want to keep it loose. I want to keep some of that blue and green in there. I like the texture it gives her face. So now I'm going back with that kind of a burnt umber that I had on my palette. Going back into the areas that I want to be shadowed. So around the edges of the face, and the eyes, under the nose. And then I want to go back and lighten up this neck. I just got it a little bit too destroyed with all the blue and green. I don't hate it all, but I just need to tone it down a little bit, if that makes sense. Alright. I'm coming back in with gesso on the hair. Because otherwise the blue and the green are just, there's not going to be any delineation between the hair and the kind of watered background that I have going on here. So this is just a base for, you know, the next color I put down for her hair, but and I add some water to it so I can get, you know, some of the wispies to go out like I want. Alright, good enough for now. So I want to put in a little bit more highlight on the nose. I could use a smaller brush, but I want the painterly look anyway, so I am just kind of keeping it large and loose. Does that make sense? So this, I'm just going to move around here, get rid of that little piece. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm going to thin out some of this, highlight. I want to go in and remake her lips, since I decided to turn her green all over. But you know, that's part of all of this, and you can't afford to get frustrated or give up. You go, oh my gosh, I just poured a big green blob of paint on what I thought was going pretty well. I give up. No, you just keep going, because sometimes something even better comes out of those. Like Bob Ross used to say, happy little mistakes. You know, it wasn't what you planned, but the end result is maybe even a little better, or at least different. You know, just embrace the differentness. So get a little bit of that burnt sienna brought in with the pink lip. Now I'll bring in a little bit of the white. Seems like we've done this before, huh? So now I've done this line, you know, around the bottom, and I'm taking just a wet, fine brush, and I'm kind of blending it into the lip. Alright, and so now I'm going to dry off a good bit of the brush and go in through my white gesso, and I want to give it just a little again, wet it, get rid of some of the starkness of that. There we go. Now, if I've got any blue left, I'm going to work on the eyes, which is where all this began, didn't it? Somewhere back in time, I was going to start working on the eyes, and then it all went poop. So one of the things I kind of like to do is, when I am doing my eye color, I'll do you know, a regular color shade, I guess, at the tops, and then in fact, I'm just going to blot a little bit. Then I'll come back with a watered down with a little bit of gesso to lighten it, and that's what I want to take around the bottom, but not stark lines. You know, remember what I said, if you wanted a more of a loose painterly look, have places where it's not perfect. You don't want to think about this as coloring in a coloring book as, you know, first grader. So now I'm going to do a little something with her. I'm actually almost making watercolors out of these acrylics over here on my palette. But I want to lighten up areas of her nose. Okay, I feel pretty good about some of this. But I would like to back out some of it, if that makes sense, where I got maybe too heavy of a line. And I really want that nose to come down a little bit farther. So if I'm going to do that, I need to do it all the way around. And then I'll fix these nostrils later to get on board. And a little bit more just white up and down. I'm going to smooth that out with my finger. A little bit of white across the tops here for a highlight. A little bit of highlight on the edge of the cheeks. Again, kind of leaving it loose. Now I want to add a little bit of, I'll make this a little bit less watery. I want to get a little bit of white brought back to the whites of her eyes. So I can define those a little bit. And then this tear duct, I'll come back in a minute on that and add a little pink to it. And I'm probably going to let this dry this and use my Stabilo pencil to go back and do some more work around her face for details. Alright, so let me get the dryer out. Alright, so I want to get a couple of these fleshy colors. And I kind of want to go over a little bit more of this green that's still kind of peeking through. But keeping it loose again, I like that. A little bit showing through is actually pretty cool. get my Stabilo pencil and do a little work on the details. Let me see if I got all this dry enough to mess with. Nope. So, I'm going to go up over her eyes again. Go down to the tear duct. I want to get the iris of her eyes finished. I will leave a little spot I'm going to do as a white reflection, but otherwise it's going to be just a little crease back there, and then I need to put her eyebrows back in. I'm going to put in, again, her jawline. Oh, and her nostrils. I got to put those back in because I lowered her nose a little bit. Okay. So, let's see where that takes us, shall we? I need to actually clean off some of these brushes so I can see what I want to use. I like this one. I think it's a Jane Davenport. I think it came with one of her kits. I don't know if it came with her paints. There's different things that she has where you get a little extra stuff included in it sometimes, a stencil or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's where that one came from. And it's kind of nice because it's got that nice tip to it. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be using that to do some of this detail work. So, alright, so I'm going to start kind of with the eyebrows here. And put in the nostrils. And the eyes. I'm going to wipe it off so that it's just damp before I do the lining of the eyes. I don't want too much water on it when I do this. And of course I want it to go down to the tear ducts. And this is going to be a lighter line and a broken line. I don't want my figures to look like some of these women who go around with eyeliner all the way around their eyes. I'm like, you know, when you're 50, that's just not a great look anymore. My eyes tend to droop anyway, so use eyeliner on your top, but go very sparingly on anything lining the bottom, if anything at all. That way you kind of lift your eyes. And what they really want to do at this age is droop. But we're not going to allow that. Alright, I'm just kind of activating these lines I put in. Still going to add some color to her hair other than this, but and Stabilo pencil will continue to be activated. I mean, that's just how it rolls. But this will get, you know, the worst of it taken out of. And I just want to pull it down, and I'm not going to worry too much about it. A little bit in there. I'm still using, you know, the color from the Stabilo pencil to do some of this other stuff that I'm doing. And just playing to see what I like. So far so good. So now I think I want to do a little something with her hair. She's going to be a salt and pepper kind of girl, so I'm going to add in a little of this, I think this is it. This is a little pearl white, and cleaning inside that lid, and silver that Jane Davenport has. Okay. Let's see, I don't know if this is the best. Let me do the, I think I'll do the angled brush for this. So I'm really kind of putting it through both of them a little bit, because this is going to be a lot of just like highlight. I know when we do art, sometimes we tend to follow like conventional beauty. And so conventional beauty says that you're very, very thin. You're young, because youth is, you know, strangely celebrated like it's something wonderful, when most of us wouldn't want to trade who we are now for who we were at 25. Even if it did bring our boob line back up. So I hope there's no guys listening to this. But, you know, I've gone natural with my hair, and I love it. And so my figures often mirror that. Take the stigma out of being natural. There's nothing wrong with gray hair. I love my silvers. In fact, I get more comments than I ever did before dyeing my hair. So this girl is kind of reminiscent of that. And really all of this was kind of it started with that whole Venetian melody in the music, and then it made me think of my trip a few months ago to Europe, and how magical Venice was for me. I just loved that place. The gondola ride, and the architecture, and the tenor that was singing in the boat ahead of us. Oh my gosh. It was like a movie. So this is kind of reflecting that a little bit for me. All right. I might use just a tiny bit of that to highlight a couple of places. I don't know if it's going to work, but So now I'm going to let this dry, and then I want to work on just a very loose background here. And I have a little bit more drawing to do with that because I want to put in the gondolier, and he's going to go like right in here. Well, I've got a pole there, so that's going to be a problem, but I do want those poles. There was this wonderful building that had these different poles out front, and they had kind of that barber stripe around them in a burgundy color, and these types of beautiful windows behind. And so I want to get those in, but I'm going to have to put, you know, another one down here and erase this so that I have room to put the gondolier there, which is what I want. So stay tuned. I'm going to take a little coffee break and sketch that out, and I'll be back. So I've drawn in my little gondola figure, and I'm kind of adding some white to the boat where the green was, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go back over the whole thing in black anyway. I'm adding just some very loose painterly highlights again around her. So I don't want anything too perfect. Whoop, got a little bit too much paint there. That's okay. Okay, so now let me get out my little black gesso. I like that about as well as black paint. This is Liquitex. That's my little go-to. Just put a little bit of that on my palette. And I want to get the gondola. I'm not going quite up to that line. I'm leaving a little border because that's going to be a slightly different color. The boats are actually really pretty. They're black, dark green. They have different types of embellishments and things on them. Some are fancy. But honestly, I was looking at the scenery so much. It's not like I was just enamored with the boat. What I loved about the gondola, if you ever go to Venice, do a gondola ride, because when they dump you out in Venice, it's very crowded touristy plazas. You gotta, I don't know, if you're like me, you gotta get away from that. You gotta get away from the crowds. There's a time for it. You can get your little souvenirs and stuff out there. But what the gondola ride does is it gets you into the back alleys of Venice, where it's quiet, where it's cool, and you see the architecture and places that you know, people take a boat ride up to their home or a hotel, and it's pretty amazing. And I'd heard for years, oh, it smells and all that. I didn't smell anything, and I'm pretty susceptible to bad smells, and I don't remember that. I don't remember any kind of bad smells. I don't know if it was just we got lucky with the time of year. I don't know. Or maybe they figured out a way to clean that up. So don't let stuff like that stop you or what other people think. Because it was a lovely place. And we only got to spend a day there. And I would love, love, love to go back and have, you know, 2 or 3 days there, honestly. And then maybe go down and see some other parts of Italy. This was the only... Well, we went to Venice, and then we went to Verona, which is also a very beautiful, beautiful place. And so I would like to see more of Italy. But what we were doing was, you know, so, what was it? 7 countries in 9 days kind of a deal. a different hotel about every night. I think there was one night we spent 2 nights, and that might have been when we first got there in London. So it was crazy busy. I had a herniated disc happen about the time I left, and that just got horribly aggravated the whole trip. So I was in pain pretty much the entire trip. Had one of those little electrode machines, you know, that you sends electrical impulses to kind of help with pain. I wore that pretty much the whole time. But it was still a wonderful trip. I was so happy to get to see what I got to see. And I hate it took me so long. Because honestly, you know, when you're young, you're raising your children, you can't sometimes justify, unless you just have lots and lots and lots of money, you can't justify spending that kind of money. And so with health issues that I've had the last year or two, I've aged a little bit more than I wanted to by this point in my life. And so I was feeling it on that trip. But, you know, anytime, I don't care how old you are, anytime you're going in and out of hotel rooms every night, you know, you don't unpack, you just, one to another. It's tough. So, I need my little fine. What did I do with that? We need to get another one of these. This has been a really good one. I'm trying to see what Robert Simmons. Okay, it's a pretty decent brand, I guess. I think I got it at Michael's years ago. I don't even know if I can see the number anymore, what size it is. Nope, it's worn away, and my eyes have gotten too bad to see it. And don't leave them in water, because this is what happens, is the paint peels off. But it has withstood the test of time. So this size comes in really handy though for fine detail work around the eyes and things like this. Around the edge of the boat. And I'm going to try to remember not to try to be perfect at this. That's not the style I'm going for. And I want to mix this with a little white and a little black to get a gray to go inside the boat with. A little bit more. I think I got a little bit more to do it. Didn't mix very much of that. Alright. Then I want to get the pole that he uses. Alright, it's not a straight looking pole now, is it? So what I can do is, since the crooked part of the pole is against his black pant leg, I can go in with a little bit of black. Get some of that paint off. Just straighten up that line. I want more of a silhouette of the guy, so I'm just doing light lines. And just haphazard stripes. They wore black and white striped shirts. Alright. So now I want to do, I'm going to go back to my trusty angled brush. And I want to pick up some of these different colors I have on my palette. I'm going to mix in a little bit of that magenta. I don't know if you can see it. And yeah, I'm using dirty paint water, but I think it's going to be okay in this application because I am wanting to do just a wash across this, to be honest. I want to be able to see the pencil lines through it. Yeah, that's what I want. Nothing perfect. And because I think, you know what, I'm really liking this. I might not go back in and do any more detail of the building behind, except I got to do a little bit, because one thing that stood out to me on these buildings, this particular building, was these like barber looking poles with the diagonal stripes, you know, going around them. Thought they were awesome looking. So I'll see if I can bring that out with still keeping it kind of faint. Dry it a minute. A little bit more. Let's see if I can get what I want with just this ink pen, because I want to kind of sketch with the ink pen. Yeah, like that. So let me keep going around. Yeah, I like that. All right, so the last color that I'm going to put down here, see if I can, I think I'm going to have to mix a couple. Let me see what this one is. It's pretty close. I'll put a little bit of red next to it though and see if I can. It's kind of cranberry color. And I think that will do the trick. So let's see. Again, I think I'm going to need my fine liner for this. Let's see what that color looks like by itself. Oh no, that may be fine by itself. Let's see. Yeah, that's the color I remember. So I just penciled in some quick lines, and I'm kind of playing with them because I don't think I liked the spacing of them. So I don't remember what colors these little knob things were on top, but I'm going to go ahead and do them the same color. I like that. I can't even remember if they were lights or what. And then everything else is just going to stay a sketched background. So now I just want to water down this black gesso. And I want plenty of water on my brush so that it flows and does what I need it to do. Okay, and I'm going to take this dark black to do the center of the eyes again because I like a bit darker application for that. Then I'm going to thin it out and add the detail. Whoops. It's hard to talk for me to do detail work like this. Sorry guys. It's something I'm going to have to learn how to do better. Just talk while I'm painting because it's very tough. I get in the zone and I forget even that I'm filming. And let's see, I have a little bit of that. I'm trying to make a little tiny bit of pink, and I don't have any pink on here, but I have this magenta that I just, well, burgundy, whatever it is, that I put down for the barber poles. So that's going to work fine. Just mix it with a good bit of my gesso. So here's that dark I use for the barber poles, and I'm just moving it over here. Adding some water to thin it down. Because something I forgot to do earlier that I like to do is go in here with just a little bit of pink at the edge of the eye, but especially here in the tear duct. Still not happy with the lips, so I'm going in one more time with those. Too much water on that lip. Just a little detail to the brows. Especially this one looking a little wonky. I'm sorry if you can't see my strokes. It's kind of doing things on the left side is a little bit harder for me. So, there's just one more thing that I think I'd like to do. These are Shawn Petite's stencils. I haven't even gotten a chance to use them yet. I love this whole, I guess, brocade pattern and all the different sizes that are on here. So, I think I would like to put a little bit of texture into the water with these. I think that would be pretty cool. So I just got to think about, I wonder what color would be cool. This is the color I used on that page yesterday that just pretty much overtook the page, Pthalo Blue, because it's a Golden's acrylic. And I got too much out on my palette. I'm trying not to today. Perfect. See? That's perfect amount. Because there is so much pigment and the golden paints that it can just completely take over. So I just want to get this on my sponge and let's see how I like. Just want to lightly bob it. I don't want it super dark, and I don't want it perfect all the way around either. So see if I need some stuff in the middle. Yeah, I like that. I'm actually going to need a little bit more because that sponge soaked up a good bit. So going to do see what it looks going sideways. Don't know, do you try? Ooh, I like that. Against the boat like that, looks like waves. Trying to get enough without having to use more paint. Yes. I like that. honestly, the only thing I don't care about this page right now is too much of the shine on the hair. Can't believe I'm saying that, but I am. So I think what I'm going to do is tone that down with a gesso wash and see if that will take some of the shine out. So let's see, we won't know till we try, Roy. And it might kind of downplay some of the harsh black lines too. Especially here on the underside of the hair, because there's not so much highlight down there. Especially in my hair, it's a little darker. Save the highlight for, you know, more the ends and the top. So I think I'm going to like that much better. All right, guys. I'm going to call that a day. I was going to write some words, but you know what? I'm not. Because I don't really think there's room, and I think it would detract from what I want it to be. So I'm going to simply, let me find my pen to do what I want to do with. See if this is the one. This will work. I don't even know what month this is. 8. Okay. So I'm just going to date it. And we are going to call it a day. So I'm going to see if I can get that up a little closer for you. Okay. So thank y'all so much for joining me. This was my second day in this junk journal. It was fun. It was a more involved type of page than I did yesterday, but a load of fun. And I'm back to doing some faces, and I like that. It's always a challenge, and I never know what I'm going to get. So if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. That helps me show up in people's searches on YouTube, and subscribe and hit that little bell, and they'll notify you when I put up a new video, which is every few days. That's my goal anyway. So thank you so much for joining me. Leave me a comment and tell your friends about this page, and I will talk to you soon. Be creative. Bye.